Hello friends, in this video I will explain you how you can cope stress and burnout, means how you can manage stress and burnout. Okay, so as you can see on your screen, it is unit 8, coping with stress and burnout, written here. This is coping with stress and burnout. This is the name of the unit. So the first headline given, coping with stress concept. So how we can cope the stress. So psychologists have identified two major ways in which people cope with stress. So what are these two ways? So first method here given, you can see in the first approach, a person may decide to suffer or deny the experienced stress. This is the passive approach. Okay, so the first one, it is passive approach. So in this passive approach, a person may decide to suffer or deny the experienced stress. Okay, this is the first method. The second method here given, second, it is the active approach. Second, it is given active approach. So here what happens here, a person may decide to face the realities of experienced stress and clarify the problem through negotiation with other members. Okay, here person in active approach, person experience the realities. Okay, experience the realities of a stress and clarify the problems through which negotiation and uh, negotiate with other members. Okay, by negotiating with other members, the person clarify the realities of stress and uh, cope the stress. Okay, so here given, a person may decide to face the realities of experienced stress and clarify the problem through clarify the problem through negotiations with other members. Okay, this is active approach. So now clear here, active approach. Here person face the realities of experienced stress and the problem and clarify the problem. How clarify the problem through negotiation with the other members. Okay, this is active approach. Clear? According to Moose Billy, the following ways of coping stress. So according to this researcher, okay, so the following are different ways to cope stress. The first method to cope stress given, appraisal focused coping. Okay, what happens in appraisal focused coping? Now you can see here, in appraisal focused coping, it involves attempts to define the meaning of a situation and includes such strategies as logical analysis and cognitive redefinition. So here in case of appraisal focused coping, the person may use logical analysis, okay, or can redefine by cognitive, means whatever it is the cause of the stress, that can be redefined. Okay, cognitively can be redefined. So in this approach. Okay, in the second given, problem focused coping, in second problem focused coping, this seeks to modify or eliminate the source of stress to deal with the tangible consequences of a problem or actively change the self and develop a more satisfying situation. So in problem focused coping, the person seeks to modify or eliminate the source of stress. Here the person tries to eliminate or modify the cause of the stress. Okay, so that he or she can deal with the stress effectively. And the third given, emotion focused coping. So in emotion focused coping, responses, now this includes responses whose primary function is to manage, the primary function is to manage the emotions aroused by stressors and thereby maintain effective equilibrium. So according to emotion focused coping, So what the person can do, the person manage the emotion aroused by the stressor and thereby maintain effective equilibrium. Okay. So here the primary focus is appraising and reappraising a situation to handle the stress. So now you can see here in these all three uh, ways of coping, here appraising and reappraising a situation given. It means this is appraisal method of stress coping. Okay, it means by appraising the situation you can cope the stress. So this is about appraising. So here I can underline so that it will be clear. This is appraising. So now you can see this is appraising and reappraising. Okay, so this is the appraising reappraising method to cope with the stress. Now here next given Muddy and Kabasa here talked about two forms of coping, transformational. So another way of coping here given, transformational and regressive. Transformational or regressive meaning here. First given transformational coping. Transformational coping involves altering the events so that they are less stressful. Here means events are going to be altered so that those stressful situation can be less stressful. To do this, one has to interact with the events and by thinking about them optimistically and acting toward them decisively, change them in a less stressful direction. Now you can see here, to do this, what in transformational coping, the person has to interact with the events. Okay, and by thinking about them optimistically and think about the stressful situation optimistically and act toward particular decision to change them in a less stressful direction. So now you can in transformational copying, person interact with the events, okay, and think about that optimistically, and think about the stress optimistically and act toward decision making to change the stressful situation into a less stressful direction. Okay, next given be regressive coping. So regressive coping includes a strategy wherein one thinks about the events pessimistically and act evasively to avoid contact with them. So in regressive coping, here the person may avoid contact with the stressor. Okay. Now next heading is managing stress. So there are basically two ways of managing stress. So what are these two ways? First given, what an organization can do. It means what an organization can do to manage stress. And the second given, what an individual can do. It means what an individual can do to manage stress. So first given, what an organization can do. So some of the proactive interventions by the organizations are given here. So the first intervention by the organization given, understanding a stress audit. Understanding stress audit. Okay, the attempt organizations make to study, explore and control the various types of stresses which the individual executives experience by the virtue of their organizational membership. So now attempt to organize the organization stress audit. The what is this? The attempt organizations make to study. So it is a type of a study. Uh, uh, Stress audit, it is a type of study, explore and control the various types of stresses which the individual, means individual executive of the organization, may experience. Okay, by studying the stresses which the individual executive of the organization experience. So by studying those things, uh, means by studying those stressors, organization can take further steps if the organization has the knowledge about the stressors. Okay, so that's why the knowledge about the stressor is very important. Now second given, use scientific inputs. So use scientific input means dissemination of information on how to face the stressor within the organization and outside is useful. So use scientific input means dissemination of information how to means if you know a scientific method to face the stressors, then in that case you will feel less stress. So that's why I given use scientific inputs to face stressors means use scientific method to face stressors means a stressful situation, whether it is in the organization or outside the organization. Next given, check with company doctors means take the help if you are not able to manage the stress, then you can take uh, help from the doctor. Next given, stress management training program. So a stress management training program is very good way to manage the stress means this is a good intervention by the organization for reducing the stress level of the employee of the organization. Now those things were about what an organization can do to manage stress. Now here second given, what an individual can do. What an individual can do. So the so yeah, the individuals can adopt following cognitive restructuring and cognitive coping strategies to avoid or moderate the experience of a stress. Okay, so here cognitive restructuring or cognitive coping strategy can be taken by the individual. So what are these cognitive restructuring or cognitive coping strategies to avoid stress? First given, consider the difficult, adverse or demanding job situation as inevitable parts of job life. Okay. So accept means consider the difficult, adverse or demanding job situation as inevitable part of job life. Second given, perceive stressful job situation as a temporary phase of the job. If any stressful job situation, then you think that that is only temporary. Later on, that is going to be okay. Try to rationalize the situation of a stress and its consequences. Think in logical way about the situation of a stress and its consequences. Take excessive demands as challenge. So if there is excessive demand in the organization, then think that it as a challenge and be excited about that. Think that the time itself takes care of such situation and think that with the passage of time everything is gonna be okay. Accept the situation of a stress thinking that there is nothing you can do to change them. If it is beyond your uh, capacity, then think that that stressful situation, it is uh, something for which you cannot do anything. So think like that and then leave as it is. uh, simultane- Simultaneously think about the positive outcomes of successful dealing with the situation of a stress. If there is any type of a stressful situation, then think that if you can overcome that stressful situation, then what are the positive outcomes you can get. So if you think about that, then in that case you will feel a little less stress about the stressful situation. Believe that every problem ultimately has some remedy. So always think that positively. So now that is given, believe that every problem ultimately has some remedy. The next ninth number given, accept the situation of a stress as realities of life. Remind yourself that work is not everything. So you think that stress is a part of life, and always remind yourself that the work is not everything. Besides the above cognitive coping and behavioral interventions, the individuals can use some of the job techniques to get relief from his or her job stresses, such as relaxation, yoga, meditation, seeking company of good friends, attending sports, cultural, religious, and entertaining events. So these are off the job techniques to cope with the stress. So what are these techniques? Relaxation, yoga, meditation, seeking friends, attending sports, cultural, religious, and entertaining events, etc. So those things were all about stress. Now next, about burnout. So first, what is burnout? Burnout can be defined as the end result. Burnout is the end result of a stress experienced but not properly coped with, resulting in exhaustion, irritation, ineffectiveness, inaction, and problems of health. Okay, so simple you can think burnout is a type of end result of a stress experienced when the stress is not properly managed, and the symptom of burnout, it may be exhaustion, irritation, ineffectiveness, inaction, and problems of health. What are the problems of health? Like hypertension, ulcers, and heart problems, etc. Now, the opposite phenomenon of glow up occurs when the opposite phenomenon of glow up, the opposite of burnout, glow up occurs when stress is properly channelized. When you can manage the stress properly, if you can channelize the stress properly, then there it is a glow up, opposite of burnout, resulting in a feeling of challenge, job satisfaction, creativity, effectiveness, and a better adjustment to work and life. So these things are related to glow up. Okay, if you are able to manage burnout properly. Okay, so that's why here bottom written role stress. If you have role stress, then if you effectively cope, means effective coping, then you glow up. And if role stress and if there it is ineffective coping, then there it is burnout. Okay, all coping techniques, all coping techniques for burnout can be grouped by primary goal and site of intervention. So all coping techniques, what are the coping techniques of burnout? Okay, which we will learn. So here given, all coping techniques for burnout can be grouped. So how coping techniques can be grouped? Grouped by primary goal and site of intervention. So what are these goals? So identification. The first thing is that you have to identify the cause of the burnout. Okay, then after second given, prevention. So how you can prevent the causes of burnout. Then third given, mediation, how you can slow, halt, or reverse the burnout process. Okay, then next given, remediation given techniques. So then next given remediation. So after mediation, there is remedy. During if during mediation, if you were not able to cope the burnout, then there it is remediation techniques for individuals who are already burnout or rapidly approaching the end stage of this process. So whatever remedial techniques are there, so you can apply for overcoming the burnout. So next point given, intervention can also be targeted at specific sites or level. Okay, so if interventions are targeted at particular specific sites or level, then uh, burnout can be overcome, means we can save ourselves from the burnout. Okay, so what the four most important sites are? What are these four important sites? So first given, individual. So individual intervention. So intervention designed to strengthen an individual's ability to deal with job related stress. So where you can intervene. So the first intervention site is individual. You have to strengthen an individual's ability to deal with the job related stress. Okay. So this is the first site, individual, where uh, individual should be strengthened in its ability to deal with job related stress. Second given, interpersonal, attempt to a strength. So second site of intervention, it is interpersonal. So attempts to strengthen interpersonal relations or work group dynamics, either to decrease stress. Okay. So here what you have to do, attempts to strengthen interpersonal relation, that is group work group dynamics. Okay, either to decrease stress. Third given, workplace. So modification in the immediate work environment intended to reduce stress. If there is a stressor present in the environment, then you can reduce. Okay, the intervention can be made to reduce that stressor by modifying the workplace environment. Then fourth given, organizational. So at organizational level, first it was individual level, second it was interpersonal level, third it was workplace, and the fourth it is organizational level. So at organizational level, what is now see, changes in policies, procedures, or structures intended to deal with organizational factors related to burnout. So there should be proper policies, procedures, or structure intended to deal with burnout. Okay. Now next, in detail we are going to study about the individual intervention. So first, so four strategies are given by choosing to deal with burnout. The first given, personal management, self-regulation skill for organizing time and energy, expenditure value. Okay, so what is the personal management means? Self-regulation skills for organizing time and energy, expenditure value. Second given, relationship, scene changing skills for altering the environment and interaction with it. So you can change the scene around you for altering the environment and interaction with it. Then outlook, change your mind skills for controlling attitudes and perception. So try to control attitudes and means try to change your mind skill for controlling attitudes and perception. Outlook means how you see the things which are causing stresses. So you can change means you try to develop, just try to develop skills so that you can think about that stresses in different way, so that you can develop so controlling attitudes and perception towards those things. Okay. Now fourth given, stamina, bodybuilding skill to strengthen resistance and release tension. Since you can perform some physical activities to overcome the burnout, because when you perform physical activities, then you relieve your muscle tense. Yeah. Now next given, organization intervention, individuals change unaccompanied by organizational change is often ineffective over the long term and may even be counterproductive. Now you see here, whenever there is change in the individual, okay, or if the individuals of the organizations are changed, and if there is no change in the organization itself, then in that case the combined effect, it will be ineffective over the long period, or it may be counterproductive. Okay, so if there is change in the organization, then the individuals should also be changed, and if individuals are changed, then in that case organization should also change. Okay, then only in that case there will be effective change. Otherwise there will be counterproductive change. So steps for preventing strategies for burnout through need assessment and coping assessment. Training methods are as follows. So steps for preventing strategy for burnout. So what are the strategies taken by the organization? So first, organizational intervention given, sensitize the individuals. What given? Sensitize the individuals to their own needs. Second given, help the individuals to assess the need fulfilling characteristic of a potential job. So what second? Help the individuals to assess the need fulfilling characteristic of a potential job. Means whatever job the person is performing, so help okay, so help that individual to understand that whatever job he or she is doing is fulfilling his or her personal needs. Third given, increase the probability of an appropriate match between an individual and a job. Try to match. If there is mismatch in between the job and the individual, then in that case there it will be stress and which may cause burnout. So that's why I always try to match in between the stress and the individual. Fourth given, focus individuals' attention on the areas they should work on to provide maximum satisfaction on the job. So now try to focus individuals' attention on those areas of the job which makes the individual feel satisfied. Organizational development is helpful in reducing and managing stress. So organizational development we will study later on. Organizational development is very helpful in reducing and managing stress. Why? Because organizational development is a technique by which changes can be managed properly in the organization. Okay, so that's all about this. So thank you all. So we will meet again in the another video. Thank you.